When I was a kid, I used to think pork chops and karate chops were the same thing. I thought they were both pork chops. And because my grandmother thought it was cute, and because they were my favorite, she let me keep doing it. Not really a big deal. Now, one day before I realized that fat kids weren't designed to climb trees, I fell out of a tree, and I bruised the right side of my body. I didn't want to tell my grandmother because I thought I'd get in trouble for playing somewhere that I shouldn't have. Well, a couple days later, a gym teacher saw the bruise, and I got sent to the principal's office. From there, I got sent to a really small room where a nice lady asked me a lot of questions about my life at home. I saw no reason to lie. As far as I was concerned, life was pretty good. I told her, anytime I'm sad, my grandma gives me karate chops. This led to a full-scale investigation, in which I was removed from the home for 3 days. Till they finally decided to ask how I had gotten the bruise. The news of this little silly story spread around the school. I earned my first nickname. Pork chops. To this day, I hate pork chops. I wasn't the only kid who grew up this way. Surrounded by people who used to say that rhyme about sticks and stones as if broken bones hurt more than the names we got called. And we got called them all. So we grew up believing that nobody would ever fall in love with us. That we would remain lonely forever. That we would never meet somebody to make us feel as if the sun was something they had built for us in their tool shed. So broken heartstrings bled the blues as we emptied ourselves to keep from feeling anything. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone. Or that an ingrown life is something that can be surgically removed, that it doesn't metastasize. Of course it does. She was 8 years old when we met on the first day of grade 3, and she got called ugly. We got moved to the back of the classroom to keep from getting bombarded by spitballs, but the school halls were a battleground, and we found ourselves outnumbered day after wretched day. We used to stay inside for recess because outside was worse. Outside you had to rehearse running away or stay still like a statue and give no clues it was you. In the 5th grade they taped a sign to her desk. It read, "Beware of dog." To this day, despite a loving husband, she still does not believe she is beautiful because of a birthmark that takes up a little less than half of her face. Kids used to say she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase, but they couldn't quite get the job done. And they'll never understand that she's raising 2 children whose definition of beauty begins with the word mom. Because they see her heart before they see her skin, because she's been nothing to them but absolutely amazing. He was a broken branch grafted from a different family tree. Adopted. Not because his parents opted for a different destiny. He was 3 years old when he became a mixed drink of 1 part loneliness and 2 parts tragedy. Started therapy in the 8th grade, had a personality made up of tests and pills, where the uphills were battles and the downhills were cliffs. 4/5 suicidal, a tidal wave of antidepressants, had an adolescence of being called Popper. 1 part because of the pills, 99 parts because of the cruelty. He tried to kill himself in the 10th grade when a kid who could still go home to mom and dad told him to get over it. As if depression is something that can be fixed with the contents of a first aid kit. To this day, he has a TNT stick lit from both ends and describes to you the way the sky bends in the moments before it's about to fall. And despite an audience of friends who all consider him an inspiration, he remains a subject of conversation between people who don't understand. Sometimes being drug-free has less to do with addiction and more to do with the simple idea of sanity. We weren't the only kids who grew up this way. To this day, kids are still being called names. The classics are hey spaz, hey stupid. Every school has an arsenal of nicknames that gets updated year after year. And the question is, if a kid breaks into school and nobody chooses to hear, do they make a sound? Are they simply part of a background track, of a soundtrack stuck on a repeat from people who say things like kids can be cruel? Every school is a big top circus tent with a pecking order that goes from acrobats to lion tamers, from clowns to carnies. All of these were miles ahead of who we were. We were freaks. Lobster claw boys and bearded ladies. Oddities juggling loneliness and depression, trying to kiss and heal the wounded parts of ourselves while playing solitaire, spin the bottle, when at nights we were walking the tightrope. And yes, some of us fell. But I want to tell them that all of this is just leftover. When you decide to smash everything you thought you used to be, because if you can't see the beauty inside yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer, stare a little longer, because there's something inside you that made you keep going despite anything anybody ever told you. Put a cast around your broken heart, you signed yourself beside it. They were wrong. Maybe you didn't belong to a group or a clique. Maybe you got picked last for basketball or everything. Maybe you brought bruises or broke a teeth and no show and tell but never told, because how can you hold your ground when everybody else is trying to bury you beneath it? You have to believe they were wrong. They had to be wrong. Why else would we still be here? We grew up learning to love the underdog because we found ourselves in them. This stemmed from the belief that we are not the names we were called in high school. We're not stalled out cars sitting empty on some highway, and if in some sick way we are, we only got out to walk for gas. We're graduating members of the class and we made it. Not the faded voices of echoes saying that names will never hurt us. Of course, they did. But our lives will only ever continue to be a balancing act that has less to do with pain and more to do with beauty.